right, here we go. Overdrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan.
Going on.
What's going on?
Hazy, what a day yesterday, but I've just been circling back and thinking about a few things. And I love the fact that we were bonded together in a text chain. But I think we might have exposed ourselves as morons in one of the text chains because we were on a text chain with a heavy hitter in the golf industry, a close friend of ours, and we presented a color chart of stress. And did you notice that he didn't go to that at all?
Yeah, I did notice that.
You guys were Jonas and Myrtle?
No. It wasn't
charts on there?
No. Color chart, underpant cam,
Yes.
different shades. That was what was posted.
This thing comes up, and me and this guy with like a highly respected, our buddy Donnie.
Yeah.
And a bad shot would occur, and one of us would pipe in with lower right, middle left, and he must have been thinking, I am dealing with two of the biggest losers on earth.
I was waiting for him to remove himself from the chain.
What if you just saw that? It's like this guy's removed from the chat.
Right out,
Dude,
like
it
when
could have happened.
It could have happened, like when
he chunked it on 13 and you said bottom right. He could have said, guys.
Thank you for everything, but I can't do this.
But the whole world was thinking bottom right.
Yeah.
Put up that chart again. That was bottom right.
Bottom row, bottom right.
I was.
Guys, maybe this is our new pressure chart. It's our new pressure chart.
It is
we just fire it up. And that's a tool for us.
That is a tool. So that's bottom right. Like, because Rory was bottom right a few times yesterday. How many times? Realistically, how many times was he bottom right?
Oh, man.
If there was another row after that bottom right, I think he might have gone there.
I think when he was in the cart driving back to the first tee for the playoff, that there had to be a completely different layer, like in the on the Pentagon, there's certain levels. The public
he just said to Harry Diamond, go back to the clubhouse. I need new pants.
That would have been hilarious if he came up for the playoffs in dark pants.
Yeah.
I think Rosie would have felt like he had him in a pretty good spot at that point.
Jet black pants and a jet black golf shirt.
Yeah, the chart, man. Because after he doubled one, he was like middle row, middle box.
Right.
After the double on one, he tried to play it cool. And then he kind of slapped at a wedge on two and got lucky to two-putt to save par. All of a sudden, this guy is down a shot on the third tee.
I know.
20 minutes into the round, the guy's down a shot. And at that
That's what I said, because you know how sometimes the leader, it's all yuckity-yuck, and then you never see him on TV the rest of the day?
Mm-hmm.
I thought, even with Rory McIlroy, I thought that was going to happen.
Right. It was like they'll show him putt out and say, that was a tough day for
Corey
Rory.
Connors was an example. He started struggling. They said, whoever was in the truck or whatever said, do not put Connors back on. He's gone. He's out of it.
Unfortunately, Connors was given that type of treatment.
Yes, and I thought that was going to happen with Rory after the third tee where you're like, this guy, it was all building and trending towards him winning. And to be one down on third tee, and I thought Bryson, there was some critical, like the guy mashes the golf ball and he lays up on three.
I couldn't believe he did that.
Dude.
I couldn't believe he did that. And then he three putts. Like that, and that didn't help.
Dude, you're known as the gunslinger, and it's almost retrospectively looking at it. Rory on 13, everyone says it was the play. I was bitching on the text chain that it was the play to lay. You're Rory McIlroy, man. Go ahead and rip your driver in a 6-iron and then be 5 shots ahead. Because maybe that's just the way you get out of your element when you're laying up with an iron and you're doing all these things. You might as well just say screw it. Like Tiger, man, he just would say, I'm going to beat you by 10.
Yeah, it's a great case study because that was the quote unquote smart play.
Yeah.
Hit a 3-wood, lay up, hit a wedge, 2-putt and leave. But he couldn't do it because
I couldn't watch him. That wedge when I almost said this is I
couldn't believe he put that in the water.
I feel like the golf enthusiasts were losing their mind.
I have never experienced anything like that.
Like the range of emotion.
I will say that was like when I look back on my experiences watching sports, that will be one I will never ever forget.
Really?
And from a golf standpoint, that's at the top of the list. for me. That includes Tiger in 19. I'd say, Tiger in 97. He ran away with it. The Sunday was just him, basically waving at people. And yeah, exactly. It was the tournament was over on Saturday when Tiger did that in 97. I have never experienced it like that. The way he starts the show with a double on the first hole.
I know. Yeah. I was tracking it, and I'm like, he was dash 14, and then it's dash 10, and I'm like, what happened to this guy?
It was astonishing. And then he birdies 17, and he crushes a golf ball on 18T.
Yeah.
Yes. Other tour players were mashing drivers and hitting 6 and 7 irons into that green. He had a gap wedge, and he somehow flared it into the bunker. I could not believe my eyes.
I couldn't believe it either. And it's what made the reaction. Like, if he hits that putt on the 72nd hole, I think he has a very similar reaction.
Right.
I think he breathes easy, but I think it's more of a fist pump, an immediate joy, and I did it. I parred 18. I knew it. Yeah. I think the tears after the playoff hole it was exaggerated because he had to go to the playoff.
I almost choked this off.
I actually.
The golfing God said to him, Hazy, they were like, if you want this jacket, you are going to have to go through hell and back.
Yes.
And it made the story more incredible.
Way more compelling. That's why, for me, it was the most incredible golf theater I've ever experienced in my life. I don't think I'll ever see anything like it because of the buildup, because it's been 11 years since he won a major, 14 years since he absolutely puked all over himself on the back nine of that golf course, because it was the career slam, because it was the one thing he wanted. And down the stretch, he was just battling with his own demons. And he had all this scar tissue for that long, like 11 years of scar tissue that played out over the 4 rounds, like the double on 15 and 17 on Thursday. And then he redeems himself on Friday, on Saturday, and he's sitting there and he goes out and does what he does, and bogeys 1, and then finds a way or doubles 1, doubles 13, bogeys 14, bogeys 18, bogeys, misses the putt on 18. It was just incredible. Like, it was absolutely incredible. And then for him to do what he did in the playoff, to close it the way he closed it, and I immediately, like an hour after it ended, someone did the still shot of him hanging over that putt at the U.S. Open that he missed on 18 at Pinehurst with that one that he made on the playoff hole. It's the exact same view. He's like middle left edge of the hole. Yeah. He hits the same putt. Like, if you watch the Pinehurst one, it just breaks way more, and it breaks off, and he misses it.
Yeah,
it's really incredible. Like, it's actually like it's poetic. It's like artwork where you're like, it's actually the same putt.
Right.
Just this one he hits, and now he's immortal, and he gets his Grand Slam.
Dude,
and
let me ask
it's just
you this.
Incredible.
I had Coco's brother online for a hoodie, and we were gonna light the Greg Norman hoodies on fire.
Yes.
And we were gonna have a Rory one next year. What picture would be on the Rory hoodie for next year? Would it be the skank wedge on 13? Like, would it be the divot flying in the air with the, like, Hazy, what would the hoodie be for next year?
Great question.
Well, for me,
if he lost, what would the hoodie be?
If he lost, because
that's what it was going to be.
Because for me, the hoodie now is him on his knees.
Oh, yeah. No, that hoodie,
the gods
we can make that hoodie. But he was literally, it was like Teen Wolf, man. He was morphing into Greg Norman.
Yes. Like, dude, our Greg Norman hoodie, this is what I'm trying to get at.
I thought
Greg
people
Norman,
were just going to superimpose Rory's face onto Greg Norman's head.
Greggy Norman was collapsing with his straw hat on the side of the green. And that's the moment that captured his collapse.
Yes.
What would Rory's been?
If he
lost to Rose, what is the shot that you said that did it for him?
It might be when he bent over in disbelief on the wedge shot on 13.
I think that might be it. I think that could be it. He had some moments, like when he hit that bad wedge into 2, he was slumping his shoulders and was like, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Dude, that was a god-awful shot, too.
Horrendous shot. Horrendous shot. And that's it. Like, if he showed up for that playoff in a straw Norman hat and just said, I've arrived. I don't care what happens. I can't win this thing.
Is it crazy, though? This guy is a Masters champion, a legend, one of the greatest of all time. and all you guys are talking about it. I can't believe he had this shot, and that shot, and that shot. Insanity. What was he doing here?
I'm glad you bring that up because
if he pulled out the straw hat in the playoff with the shark logo on the straw hat, I swear to God, I honestly, I would have collapsed.
I would have too. That would have been it for me. Never sports. I would have retired. I wouldn't be here today. Al's brother would be in this seat. I'd be gone. I wouldn't be able to ever really compute what happened. But I think you bring up such a good point, Noodles, because I think it's unique to him that you look at the guys who won the career slam. Like Scherzer did it his first time, Hogan his first time, Tiger his first time, Nicklaus and Player their third time. This guy was 11 times. So he had all these failures and all these moments where you're like, he's never going to do it. And even when he does it, I think we'll remember
the pathway, the negative
failures
pathway,
on the way there. If that makes sense. Because he hit brilliant shots on 3, on 4, on 10 he hit a brilliant shot, on 17, on 7 out of the trees. Like, these are all-time great shots. Right. The 7-iron on 15 is one of the great shots of all time. And I think I'll remember the chili chunk on 13 more than that shot.
I haven't heard one thing where it's like that. This is the first time where you were like, this shot is one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Where all of you guys have been talking about is,
it's like a hater's ball, man.
Underpants here.
I know you're right.
Like,
you're right.
Maybe next year we get a positive hoodie. We get that exact shot with Rory hitting that rope hook with the yellow line around the tree.
Yes,
and that's our new kind of energy going forward.
Him walking it in. That's going to be our energy next year. Walking into picks, walking into winners.
Because we're done. We're gonna light the Greg Norman hoodies on fire.
Yeah, they're done.
Although I do love them.
They are brilliant.
Love the Greg Norman.
I packed mine away on Friday.
I put it away, but
emotional, man. I told my kids, I'm like, get out of the room. I don't want to see. I don't want you to see me cry putting this thing away.
But we are 12 minutes into the show, and by the way you guys have described it, that's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
By the way you described his round, you would have think this guy dropped to 10th.
I know.
I know. That's the crazy part about this.
But that's him. Like, he's such a unique story. It's almost this tragic story for the last 11 years where, like, I can't believe it.
You said 11 years. I was so stupid yesterday because the 11th try, they kept saying the 11th try, and I'm like, that's actually not that bad. That's only like 3 years he's been gunning for this. And then I had to slap myself in the head and say, no, dummy. He only needed the Masters. He's been going to Augusta for 11 years.
Right. Chasing
11 years this guy wanted to get that jacket. And you see the emotion that guy had.
It was incredible, man. Incredible.
Like, that's where, like, that guy woke up every day of his life and realized he had a great life, probably has lots of cars, beautiful family, tons of money. But there's some point throughout the day where he thinks about a green jacket every single day of his life, man.
Yeah, well, and that's what Shane Lowry said afterwards. Like, he and Lowry are best friends, and Lowry said this guy has been obsessed with it for years. All he talks about, all he thinks about is the Masters and the green jacket. And he said afterwards, he's like, this is the greatest tournament in the world. This is all I want, and he got it. And that's what was so incredible, the fact that he closed in the end. I feel for Justin Rose. That guy's lost in 2 playoffs now to European players.
All I read,
like his cohorts.
All I read yesterday, Twitter traffic and all of that, X traffic, it was like Rose he was an afterthought.
Yeah, he was a
like
bit player.
Exactly. People were literally, it was just people cheering for Rory, and it was like, okay, if Rose does this, it was more that Rory gave it away to him. Like, it was. Like, I almost felt like Rose had no chance. Like, everybody was against him.
Well, he led after 18 holes, after 36 holes, and then he kind of faded on Saturday, and you thought, that's it for him. Yeah. You know, he's 44. He's won a major, great champion, but it's not his story. Like, the story became Bryson versus Rory, and Bryson faded the way he faded. I think an interesting question is, when we look back on this 5, 10, 15 years from now, who will be considered like the supporting cast, the main supporting actor with him? Will it be Bryson or will it be Justin Rose?
Right.
No, it's definitely Bryson DeChambeau.
You think so? But he faded. He was so bad.
I get it that he faded, but he's just the kind of character where it was like, I don't think he was out of it until 11. When he dunked that thing in the water, then it was really game over.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one more thing. It just goes to show you that Scotty Scheffler, as good as he is, he's not Tiger Woods, because I think yesterday is a day that Tiger Woods, he would have had something to say yesterday. because you know how many times you'd seen the Masters where the leaders were at like 10 and Tiger would be at 4 under, and he'd be like, I got to go out there and make some noise. And after 9 holes, he'd be tied for the lead. Like, that was one Scotty Scheffler could have picked off.
He could have grabbed it, man. You're right.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, the winning score is 11 under. Rory shot 73 yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a scenario where Tiger shoots 65 and goes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
How many Masters you watch where Tiger Woods, like, 8 back, and all of a sudden on the back 9, he's in the mix. And it's like, wow.
Yeah. No, it was there. It was there for Corey Connors. Corey couldn't get it done. He missed like
no kidding.
6-inch putt on the first hole, and you're like, come on, man, it's there for you. And
I
same
felt
thing
for
with
him.
I felt for him too. Because listen, T10, great tournament, and he's had a great year so far. But it was there. It was an opportunity for him. All right, so more on this throughout the afternoon. Steve Sands will join us from the Golf Channel. He has been down there all week. He's been at Augusta all week, so we'll catch up with Sandsy. We got Struddy coming up today. Ross Atkins at 5:30. They made the announcement today. It was interesting that Edward Rogers was up there, the owner of the team. You don't see him publicly very often. You don't see him speak very often. But I think it speaks to the magnitude of the contract, the magnitude of the news for the Blue Jays, what they believe this means for them. And we'll get to it momentarily, but I'm just seeing Keegan Matheson tweet out because the Jays are playing. They got Atlanta and Anthopoulos and the Braves in town tonight. That Max Scherzer is still feeling soreness after throwing recently. Says John Schneider, he's going to visit with a doctor again in the coming days.
That's not good. The coming days.
He just had a cortisone shot.
You'll never see him again.
There's a chance he doesn't pitch again.
I don't.
Unfortunately,
that's gonna be a Jerry's. That's going to be a developing story all season long. But are they going to replace him? What are they going to do? This is a guy they brought in.
I'll
He's
put
a
up the
brand
paint
name.
chart for Scherzer's thumb. I'm bottom right.
Yeah. Right.
I'm bottom row middle. Okay, I'm not.
I'm bottom right.
This is like Connect 4. Like we're playing Connect 4.
There. You're right there for sure.
I'm right in the middle.
I'm over on the right.
You guys are as far down as you can
I'm
get.
concerned about it.
Well, again, he had a cortisone shot, which is supposed to numb the pain effectively and put your kill the inflammation. And my fear is that he's mentally he's waiting for it. You know what I mean? Like there's something about this thumb that's throwing him off, and he's so fearful of just giving it because if the thumb is not 100%, like he said, then it's going to be the arm or the shoulder or the lats or the back or the hips, and he's not going to do it. And he put a stake in the ground after 3 innings. The third game of the year, he's like, I'm not pitching again until I get this thing figured out. This is John Schneider telling us he doesn't have it figured out. And if you're going to see a second doctor in a month, that's trouble.
Yes.
Like that's basically you're trying to get to the doctor to tell you this is what it is.
Yeah.
This is what we can do for you. And it's very concerning. So Ross Atkins will join us at 5:30 on the Vladdy signing, but also we're going to ask him about this clearly. Like what's up with Max Scherzer? We asked Schneider about that on Friday. We caught up with John the other day, and John said, hey, he's feeling better, but I guess he hadn't really been throwing at that point, and now we have a different update. But the Jays got a split over the weekend. Jeff Hoffman's been outstanding.
Closed it out yesterday.
He sure did, and he's done that a lot, like pitched into multiple innings to get the job done. He's been great. So we'll catch up with Ross coming up, Struddy coming up, and the Leafs with a great weekend. We'll come back and revisit their weekend. Big night at the Bell Center tonight. The Habs are leaking some oil here. Columbus is tracking them down. They got Chicago at the Bell Center tonight. Ivan Demidov will make his debut. So we'll touch on that, and we have a President's Trophy winner. We know who's won it. We know who's got it, and we'll tell you about that, and we'll get into it as we get closer to the Stanley Cup playoffs that are going to start, 6 days? We're like 6 days away from go time here. It's going to be a big week. So more on that still to come. Struddy coming up. Ross Atkins coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. So the Leafs had themselves a very, very successful weekend, very professional weekend. Like we were talking about it on Friday. Got to get 2 points, right, to just keep Tampa in the rear view. And Tampa, they won multiple times, and they're right on your heels. And it's going to be Florida in that 2-3. Right, it's established, and Ottawa's the first wild card. That's established, so we know what's coming here. But the Leafs still have a buffer on Tampa, on the Lightning. They got a 4-point buffer with 2 games to play, and that weekend was really impressive. I thought they played really well against Montreal. I thought Dobos just kept the Habs in it more or less. And then to go into Carolina
on
a back-to-back.
Carolina, Hayes, is usually a 4-0 loss.
Yeah.
That's just the way that game usually goes. 7 o'clock, I had no idea, guys. I always thought it had to be 24 hours away. Teams are playing with travel 7 o'clock and then a 5 o'clock game the next day. That is so dumb.
It's insane.
Who in the hell schedules a 5 o'clock game on Master Sunday?
I've been
if
telling
anything, you start at 8.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been telling you guys this. I've watched other teams go through it. I'm shocked, actually, the Leafs had to go through it based on their TV schedule. It's more, they get a little bit of, because of their brand, they're usually prime time, right? But it's the stupidest thing.
Oh,
what would be the difference of making that a 7 o'clock game tomorrow? Yesterday.
Well, good question.
It's asinine. You play 7 o'clock in your own building. After the game, you got to fly down there. I know it's only an hour and 20 flight or whatever it is, though. It's not that far. But you got to go through customs. You got to do all that stuff. You're going to get to bed late. Why would you have a 5 o'clock? I watched, I think, Ottawa do a 5 o'clock game in Ottawa this year and play a 2 o'clock game in New Jersey or 1 o'clock game in New Jersey the next day.
Yeah.
Like, those are almost scheduled losses. They're ridiculous because how do you give that team? We're in the entertainment business as hockey as a whole and the brand. How is that going to be an entertaining game when one team is dog tired?
That's the team that ends up walking away with 2 points.
Yeah.
And, in somewhat easy fashion, to their credit. Like they played with a lead all night, and I thought they played well last night. And I thought their big boys were the ones that led the charge. Like Morgan Rielly had himself a night. You got Nylander up to 45 goals, Marner's up to 99 points, Tavares up to 38 goals. And it leads to an interesting question of what they're going to do the rest of the week, because they're up against it with the cap. They're up against it in terms of bodies that are available to them anyway.
Well, how the hell are they going to put a team on the ice?
Well, and the point is, these guys are going to likely have to play. So it's not even about chasing the stats. Like if you're Marner, you want to hit 100 points. You're sitting on 99. Sure. You've done it before. You got two games left.
Yeah, you can play, even play one of them, get it or whatever.
Exactly.
The point being is, you're right. Like if they're up against the cap, like you're
going to have to play.
You can't call guys up and just, hey, like you're watching. Winnipeg sat out like 6 guys last night. Mm-hmm. You look at it, and teams that have injuries, and Edmonton's banged up. Like you look at other teams that have it are resting players, but do the Leafs have the bandwidth to rest players given their cap situation?
I'm not sure I don't think they do. I mean, that's why we saw what we saw.
Right.
With 5 defensemen being dressed, and
right.
That's the scenario that they find themselves
again in these next. You got Buffalo and who is it?
Buffalo and Detroit.
So both of those teams aren't playing for anything. So dress 5 or whatever.
You just got to bank the points. Like you got to get. It's 1 point. That's the magic number. They need a point, or Tampa needs to blow a point,
right?
And you're in, and you play Ottawa in the first round.
But ultimately, I think you probably go again. I'm just speaking out of my rear end here. You probably go full roster tomorrow, and then put the Marlies as much as Marley on the next one.
Yeah, and the hope is get your 100 points if you're Mitch.
Right.
I could see Tavares wanting to get to 40 goals, but he's done that in his career. He's a veteran.
I don't think he cares.
You got to shut him down.
Get the 1 point tomorrow and shut it all down.
Exactly. Man. And I think even Willie getting to 45, he's not going to get to 50. It's unlikely. No. I mean, he could, but it's unlikely. Like, they've done it all. They've hit all their markers, and the forward group is relatively healthy. The issue is McCabe and Ekman-Larsson, and we're a week out. But in the next 4 to 5 days, we're going to get some answers definitively on who they play. It seems very likely it's going to be Ottawa.
Yeah.
You're already seeing clips posted online, like the nostalgic clips of like the 90s and 2000. Well, Nieuwendyk is certainly a famous one. Corey Cross in overtime.
Oh, yeah. We got to get old Grandpa Tux on. If they get locked into Ottawa.
Yeah, we'll get him on for sure. We will. He had some big moments in those series. And yeah, it's getting closer and closer and closer because Ottawa's done what they're supposed to do. They've come home strong, right? They won yesterday. They won on Friday night against Montreal. And we're going to get an answer, I would think, on who starts in net game 1, right? Like that's coming up for the Leafs. And I think it's Stolarz. He's won 7 in a row, and his stats look great.
I think it's Stolarz.
Like that's the one thing. Like because, and I'm curious how you guys would feel about this. Like what does Stolarz have to do? And maybe it's simply playoff success for him to kind of detach himself from the career backup / tandem guy to, like, I'm an alpha dog in the crease. Because his stats would indicate alpha dog. Like the guy has, again, won 7 in a row. His numbers are off the charts. He's got like a save percentage in the mid-920s on the season.
He's only started 32 games.
No, I know that.
So that would be my.
So he has to start 50 plus.
40, high 40s.
Okay, well, that's not going to happen this year.
That's what I mean. He's going to success in the playoffs will be one thing because that erases whatever you do in the regular season. But to be an alpha dog starter or at least a tandem situation, it's 45, 48.
I guess so, yeah.
Leaning up to 50. Like
all I care about with this guy is can he be an alpha dog starter in the playoffs? Can he be a guy where he says, I need Joseph Woll to get me some games because I don't need 50. I don't want 50. Right. I can't do 50. But which is fine. You want to do that. That's what you need for success. That's fine. But can you flip the switch come playoff time where it's every other night and you can be a Vasilevsky, a guy that's in there and doesn't leave and play well and get the job done? Well, that's all that remains to be seen.
The biggest challenge is playing every other night and, for 20 games or whatever it is, right? So that's tough to do. He's never done that. Doesn't mean he can't. Doesn't mean he's not strong enough. When I say this, it's just when it comes to the Leafs, and I think you would agree with this, Brian, as well, it's show me. Everyone is saying that.
Yeah, of course.
So, Noodles, I will say one thing. A lot of the tweets from other markets when they're referencing the Leafs, when they're talking about them being different, almost the first or second thing they're mentioning is getting saves. They're like, that team, they got Craig Berube, they got structure, they get saves. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's been a massive part of it, although I always go back to Mike Johnson's biggest thing where they couldn't get that goal. But getting a save, it doesn't hurt you.
Well, and the thing is that getting the goal was never supposed to be the problem for the previous 8 years. Right. Yet it has been. Again, a team that employs Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and William Nylander. The idea that that's the Achilles heel is not scoring enough big goals.
I think it's more depth scoring. That's what I would look at. I was looking last night. They have 7 guys in double digits. Other teams have like 10, 12. Like the bottom of their roster, they're going to need something from Max Domi, from Holmberg, Yarncroke, guys like that. You're not going to need them to, steal games for you, but you are going to need them to produce.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that when I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, how many, double-digit scores do they have? Now, they've had lots of guys.
6 guys with 20 plus.
Right.
Which is, I would guess, more than, I think, at least 25 teams in the league.
But they don't have anybody in the bottom 6 that has 20.
And they don't get a ton of offense from the point.
Right.
Also, like they're not like McCabe and Tanev. Those guys aren't putting up numbers.
Again, you can lay out any team and you can find the Achilles heel and go, okay, well, that team doesn't have this time. Like, my biggest thing with the Leafs is I think they can score. I think their goaltending's good. I think they can defend. Like, you got to put it all together. But you are going to need, at some point, in Game 3 or Game 4, you are going to need a Lorentz goal. You're going to need a Domi goal. Somebody outside of what delivered on the weekend. It's Marner in overtime. It's Tavares, Nylander. Like, those guys are going to, they're going to do their thing.
And listen, that's the game plan, and the ice shrinks and it tightens up and it's difficult. Again, I think those guys are all in a position where they owe their team and the fans some heroic games and heroic moments. There have not been enough. You're right. You're going to need Pontus Holmberg to score an OT winner like Corey Cross did back in the day. You're going to need a Gary Volk out of nowhere to do something. Like, those are the guys that every team has it on a run. But those guys also had, using past Leaf teams, Doug Gilmour scoring overtime and Wendell Clark score a hat trick to close a game. Like, the big boys, they owe it to this team and the fan base a jump on my shoulders. I'm going to drag you if I have to. But I do think the way they're coming into the playoffs, I think, is also unique to what they've done in the past. Like, they are red hot since the trade deadline. I think they're 12-5-1. I think they're playing the best hockey they've played all season in terms of how they're committing to whatever, the system that Berube is putting forth, how they're overcoming any issues.
Because there's a lot of naysayers. Oh, this guy's style, they don't want to play that way. They won't create offense.
Yep.
Like 50 wins, pretty good.
That's it, man. Like 50 wins and likely winning the division and having home ice. And if you get health, and that's still undetermined because we don't know exactly what's going on with McCabe or Ekman-Larsson or Camp if he's going to play. But let's presume health, the first seed, home ice. they're in a position now that it is kind of like what we were talking about with McIlroy going into the Masters. Like, this is their best chance. I feel like we've said that many times. We definitely said it during the Canadian bubble, where this is your best chance. Who you're playing against, you're clearly the best team. You ran away with it, et cetera, et cetera.
No question.
But this one is going to be the best chance in a conventional season. 82 games, fans in the stands, playing every night. This is as good as it's going to get for you. Where you're going in feeling good, you're playing well, you're big boys, you've got all the scar tissue, you know what's coming, and they just need to pounce. And they've got to overcome the hurdles, because it's not going to be easy. Right. You know, Ottawa's ready to play. Ottawa's coming in pretty hot too. I mean, they're winning games. They didn't backdoor in. They had an X beside their name a while ago. I mean, we've known it's coming for quite some time. Tkachuk is going to be an interesting story as we get closer. I mean, Staios keeps saying it. Like, I'm pretty sure he's playing. No reason to believe he won't play.
I skated full time with them yesterday and today. I think he's going to be. I think they're being overly cautious.
You might as well at this point. They can't move. This week is completely irrelevant for Ottawa.
Yeah.
Like, it is completely irrelevant.
I think it's an interesting thing, though, because shutting people down. I saw McDavid's not going to play tonight, and I think that's smart for them. They just got so much going against them. But I look at certain teams protecting players because it's like, okay, we need that guy, we need this guy. But at some point, that guy needs to be sharp the minute that the puck drops,
Absolutely.
right? So it's kind of a give and take as to, okay, he knows how to play. He's not going to forget how to play. But if you get one chance and you're not super sharp because, geez, you haven't played in 2 weeks, that can hurt you as well. And, I think that's the balancing act for a lot of teams that are, resting players heading in the playoffs. You do exactly what they need to be ready for game one. Some teams don't have that luxury. It's like they're nursing an injury. You just got to get them to, and duct tape them in game one. Mm-hmm. But other teams, if you have a plan in place, we just talked about it with the Leafs. What are you going to do Tuesday, Thursday with the top players? If you
get 2 points tomorrow night, then Thursday becomes a controlled
throwaway
scrimmage.
game.
Yeah. I think you determine. I think what'll be interesting is to see what they do in net this week. I would assume that Stolarz will start tomorrow.
Well,
but what if you lose tomorrow and Tampa wins and you got to win on Thursday? Do you go back to Stolarz?
I think, again, I don't know when they're starting. Are they? Some people saying Sunday, some people saying Monday. I don't know. The focus is, what does Anthony Stolarz need if he's your guy to be ready for Sunday or Monday?
But what if it's the difference between playing Florida and Ottawa? Like, that's my point.
Don't you think Ottawa would use that as bulletin board material? Like, these guys are dressing their heater lineup to get us.
Listen,
like,
but you got to win. If you're the Leafs, you got to win the division now. Like, I really think it would be very deflating if on Thursday night somehow Tampa's jumped over them. They got to. This is, again, we keep using golf analogies, but they have a 4-point lead with 2 games to go.
Right.
You've got to close this and win the division. Yes. You have to.
Just for that reason alone, it would be just one of those little negative things.
Yes.
It's deflating, and it's just don't need it.
You can't lose the 2 games coming home and then be like, oh, we've got Florida coming up here.
Let me paint you a weird picture. They don't play that well in Buffalo, right?
No, they don't.
And Buffalo got spanked yesterday by Tampa, correct? So Buffalo's going to be pissed.
And they've been playing a lot better recently.
They can score. That's the thing. So you have to kind of dress a heater lineup tomorrow.
You're playing to win tomorrow night.
Because you've got to win that game. Or you need 1 point. You need 1 point, right, to punch?
Well, if they get a point or Tampa throws away a point.
Right.
So it's that the magic number is 1 point either way. So they could lose tomorrow and Tampa loses in overtime and they're in.
Yeah, okay.
So
Tampa's got the Rangers and who else?
The Panthers.
The Panthers. They play Florida tomorrow night. That's a big one tomorrow night because the Panthers, they're solidified now. They know who they are, where they're finished. They're starting on the road in the 3rd seed.
The Panthers might.
They want to fight, I would guess, tomorrow night. The way that they're wired, I wouldn't be surprised if they played Tampa and said, we're bringing everything we got.
Wouldn't they just dress nobody?
You think they'd mail it in and they'd want Toronto in the first round for sure.
But they can't. Like, all they can do is get home ice against Tampa. So they're.
Well, that's the thing, though. You beat Tampa. You're tied with them, and he might have the tiebreak. We'd have to look that up. But home ice is still on the line for Florida with Tampa.
Yeah,
I guess you're right. So they're not even solidified in 3rd. There is a chance for them to possibly move.
Where is Ottawa there? 94. So they can't catch. Well, they can. No, because
because of the tiebreak.
Florida has the tiebreak.
Regulation wins. Florida's got more of them.
So in the end,
I think Florida plays tomorrow night.
And
I think they try to win tomorrow night. And then, hopefully if you're the Leafs, you get through tomorrow, you've cleared it, you're in, you're playing Ottawa, and then Thursday, you probably just you mail it in.
I think
more or less you just try to get through without injuries and you leave.
Exactly. I think that's what you do is you try and make sure that you get through and regardless of the outcome, you get guys that are getting ready for the playoffs.
If Tampa wins in Reg tomorrow night and the Leafs lose in Buffalo, then you got to play your lineup on Thursday night.
Yeah,
I know it's hypothetical, but you have to.
Let's deal with that Wednesday.
I hear you.
Let's deal with this stuff Wednesday.
Hear you.
I know we play a lot of hypotheticals. Let's just deal with that on Wednesday.
We do it better than anybody.
I think Wednesday morning we're waking up as the Leafs, the Atlantic Division champions.
And the Battle of Ontario has finally returned to our lives.
Yes.
Which I want to see desperately. I now it's gotten to a point where, again, I will hold it against.
We'll be in Ottawa. We'll be at Boston Pizza in Ottawa.
We have to be.
Show. We got to go.
It should be old school every other night. Whatever it starts. Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, just every other night. Like there's no need for an extra day off between the Battle of Ontario. Right. Just go every other night and keep playing until someone's got 4 wins.
That's it.
That's the way to dial it up. Jason Strudwick in about 25 minutes. Steve Sand still to come. We've got Ross Atkins joining us at 5:30 on the Vladdy signing becoming official, the press conference today, and this news on Max Scherzer. Not a positive update from John Schneider, so we'll get more of an update from Ross in just under an hour, and something to chew on coming up as well, powered by Boston Pizza. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. Man, the Bell Center is going to be rocking tonight because that Ivan Demidov is making his debut. He was in the building on Saturday.
Elvis was in the building.
I
kind of love it, though. I mean, the excitement for him and all of that, like the fan base is juiced as it is. I don't know. I've only seen the kid's highlight tape on that, but if this kid's a legit star, which he projects to be, that's a pretty damn good player to add to your roster.
Lot to ask, though, coming in tonight.
No, I'm talking for next year and years after.
Oh, yeah. He's got a hit to make it all kind of go nuts for the Habs and for everything to be turning up perfect.
But I mean, they Suzuki's where's Suzuki at with you guys as far as like he's a star? I don't think he's a superstar.
No, I wouldn't.
He's kind of like a Bergeron minus for me, where he's just that good, where he's going to get you 80 points.
But was Bergeron an 80-point guy? I always thought he was a 60-point guy.
Yeah, he fluctuated a bit, but you're right.
Hey, maybe he's just a Bergeron. Maybe not even a Bergeron minus, because Bergeron was that one guy where everyone else, their first-line centerman was some mega stud. It was Jonathan Toews. It was Sidney Crosby. It was Geno Malkin.
Right.
And this guy just did it the right way. He did it differently.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of different ways to have success. So it's a great model and a great player to be similar to.
Yeah, I mean, just this Demidov kid, like, if he adds into, you've got Suzuki, you've got Caulfield, you've got Slafkovsky, you've got Hudson. Now you add in another, like,
oh, yeah, man.
They're coming. Like
a lot of young players.
They're on their way.
Really good young players.
Dude, if he has a night tonight and they clinch tonight, like that place,
it is going to explode because they'd be nervous. Sure. They're nervous because they didn't play well over the weekend. They got beat up by Ottawa on Friday. On Saturday, they lose in overtime. They got a point, which was big.
Yeah, it was.
And you could tell by the end, they're like, just get us to overtime, please.
Yeah, just limped.
And they got their point, and that's significant. And Columbus, to their credit, has not quit. They continue to roll, and they're right on their heels. But Montreal's in the driver's seat. And I think this time last week, people in Montreal, and myself included, people around the league, I think, were like, all right, it's over. The Habs are in.
Yeah.
Like, it's done. It's over. And then all of a sudden, you got to make something happen. So there'll be a little bit of nervous energy, plus the team you're playing. You're playing the worst team in the league. Like, you're playing Chicago, which scares you. Exactly. It scares you that they decide, well, we haven't been playing for anything all year, so I guess we'll show up tonight.
Play spoiler.
Not only Chicago, but Chicago will be playing guilty tonight because there was a bunch of guys that are retiring, and they had a night.
Patty Maroon and
Martinez. You don't think those guys were out on the town last night in Montreal for one last go-around?
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to be like, we're going out old school, boys. We're going out late. We're doing it right on the ice. So watch out for that team, man.
I had a teammate get a public urination ticket in Montreal.
That
is ridiculous.
That's tough to do in Montreal.
I was just going to say, it's tough to do. What's the big street there?
Saint
Catherine.
Yeah, St. Catherine.
Yeah, it was Right on that street.
What is he doing, though?
Well,
I know what he's doing.
I know what he was doing.
I know what he's doing.
And there was a cop sitting right there in the car going,
so
I can't believe I'm watching you do that.
We've all seen some of the most wild stuff ever in Montreal.
Yes.
Like, Montreal has so many stories. I saw a buddy. He was so buckled. He fell down the stairs at this club.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Really dangerous. But he was fine, and he got up, and they called, like, a paramedics. And the paramedics showed up, and he was, like, waving them off. And they're like, you got to understand, we're here to just make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, nope, I'm good. And they're like, all right, see you later.
Got up and walked it off?
Yeah, he walked it off. Like, and everyone's like, all right, he's totally fine. And he was totally fine. And I'm like, where are we right now? Like, it's like 4:30 in the morning.
You see these drunks
Streets
fall
are
out of a building window and bounce and then get up and walk away.
And that was the move.
Limp.
Yeah. And someone saw it and was like, oh my God, look at this guy. Yeah. And then he's like, no, I'm fine. And he just walked it off.
The next day.
Dude, I'm sure the next day there was trouble.
There was a Netflix, like, some type of PG version of, like, after-hours stories from Montreal, man.
Oh, man, it's crazy. Especially when you'd go there, again, in your prime of going out, because it closed at 4 in the morning.
Oh,
like, if you're a Toronto guy.
Think of the baseball tales when teams would wheel in there for 4 and 5 days in a row.
Yeah, you'd hear stories from those baseball teams. Like, because that John Kruk had that great anecdote during spring training where he was calling some game. The Phillies were playing somebody. I can't remember. I don't even know how Montreal came up. He may have just brought it up somehow. And he started talking about, like, nights in Montreal and playing there, because the Phillies would have been in Montreal all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
So, like, John Kruk probably just put on clinics
routine
in Montreal.
At 4 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely. With a 107 first pitch.
Oh, yeah.
Because you'll see that in Toronto, man. I never go out anymore. I haven't been out in years, but I've told you guys. I remember a story of, like, a starting pitcher the next day on the mound for the opposing team, like 12:37 first pitch, and it's like 4:30 on Spadina, and the guy's there.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're starting in 9 hours.
Yeah. And
he threw like a 3-hitter.
He's on the dance floor working up a lather.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, what is happening?
I always found that to be insane.
I don't understand those people, man.
Take it deep with not only a game the next day, an afternoon game.
Yeah. That's what's crazy.
Not even a nap in the afternoon.
Nothing.
Go right to, I've seen a few. You can go to that, remember the bar, the Underground? That's where those guys would be.
All the time. They'd be behind the bar. Like, old Blue Jays would be literally, you'd go in there, Aaron Hill would be back there, like, mixing up drinks. And you're like, hey, Hilly, nice game tonight. He's like, what do you want? I'm like, am I paying you?
Yeah,
I guess I'm paying you. Do you know what you're doing?
Double vodka and soda. He's pouring them.
Oh, there's some beauties down there.
Yeah.
Anyway, something to chew on. Powered by Boston Pizza. I'm sure they love this segue. Canada's favorite sports bar, although I'll bet you see a lot of guys down at the Boston Pizza on Front Street.
I was just going to say,
enjoy $15 lunch at BP where you get an entree, a side, and a drink, and you get it all in 20 minutes or less. A fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See you for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. Now that we know who is winning the President's Trophy, it is the Winnipeg Jets, which is an incredible accomplishment to their credit.
Yeah,
15-1, and they just never stopped. Right? They just and at the end, that game in Dallas last week was so significant.
Yeah, it was a statement.
And that punched their ticket, and it's over. But we're asking online, are the Winnipeg Jets Canada's best hope to win the Stanley Cup this year?
You would have to say yes.
60% saying no. Now there's probably a lot of Leaf fans in there. Maybe some Oiler fans, although this Matthias Ekholm injury is terrifying if you're the Oilers, man.
We'll have to get in there. We'll have to put that in the Strud muffin.
I think the other thing you're looking at is the Western Conference has all the Cup contenders in them.
Dallas, Colorado.
Vegas. I mean, there's some heavy Winnipeg.
Don't disrespect the LA Kings.
Well, on the LA, Edmonton, I think Edmonton's banged up. I don't think they'll get
I think they're in trouble, man. I think Edmonton's in trouble.
But I look at it, like those teams are like scary. Some of them are scary out there.
And if you're Winnipeg, that's why I don't think it's. I mean, it's not a Jets versus the field. It's you got to pick one, and they've been the best team this year. They have, but they have their own demons in the playoffs. Winnipeg.
Yeah, you got to show them.
They got to prove it too, and they're going to have a good first round. We're going to see. Maybe they play Calgary. They might still have the Flames in the first round, which is incredible. But it's likely going to be St. Louis or the Wild. I think they win that series. But then, as you're pointing out, you're going to face Dallas or Colorado in the second round.
Yep.
And then I think it's probably Vegas waiting for you. Like, not everything plays out the way it's supposed to.
Hitters, like that's the thing. Their
so
pathway
then who's the favorite then? If it's not Winnipeg, if you're going to go to the East, it's got to be the Leafs.
They would be. Yeah, I still think Tampa's the best team in the East.
No, I know, but they're not Canadian.
They're not Canadian.
So, like, if
it's Winnipeg. It's not even like it's.
I don't know.
I
think
Noodles is. I'm playing the field just because.
Oh, you guys are insane!
Like, I love Winnipeg.
They're the President's Trophy winners,
I know,
guys.
But
it doesn't guarantee you
all
anything.
season long. They had 2 little tiny blips in 82 games. They won every night. They got the best goalie.
Doesn't guarantee you anything.
The goalie's going to win the Hart Trophy too.
Wait till you get a message from Sarah Orlesky for these comments.
Sarah's going to be driving to Toronto right now.
Sarah understands. Sarah understands.
The point being, and I love the Winnipeg Jets. I've taken them. I feel like I've taken them every year. At the start of the season, I felt it was going to be Winnipeg and Tampa in the finals. It might still be. It may not be. Both of these teams could lose in the first round. Look at their opponents. Yeah. Look at how tough the pathway is for everybody. But in the end, you got to prove it. That's why I'm saying show it. I don't know. I can't.
Well, you know what's amazing is that this time last year, it was clearly Edmonton. Like when we were at this point last year, it's like Edmonton's got the best chance. Edmonton. Yeah, I don't like where they're at, man. I don't like the injuries. I don't like the.
Well, they're banged up. They're they're missing 5 or 6 guys that
and
aren't
big guys.
Aren't 100%.
That's it, man. Like that's like it's. We might have to do a power ranking here in terms of the Canadian teams going into the playoffs. We got to figure out how many get in because the Habs still have to punch a ticket, and the Flames are still alive.
Right.
The Calgary's right there.
I would think if you didn't put Winnipeg at the top of any playoff power ranking going into the playoffs, your credibility goes. You get fired. I'm sorry.
Winnipeg.
It's a fireable offense.
Oh, really?
I didn't say that Winnipeg. I'm just saying I'm worried about their pathway.
Yes.
That was the only thing.
And their own history.
But as far as a pre-playoff power ranking,
they deserve to be at the top.
Deserve based on what, dude? This isn't the early '80s Islanders. They haven't won anything in the playoffs. Winnipeg.
Well,
wow, this guy. What have they won? He's in hater mode. He is LeVar Ball hater.
And then that's it. Just say Leafs.
All right, Leafs. I'll say Leafs.
I'm not saying Leafs.
I'll say the Leafs. I'll say the Leafs. You're too gutless to say the Leafs.
It's the Winnipeg Jets, guys. It's the Winnipeg Jets.
Hour 2 coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.